The crimson ultimatum, the morning sky above New Geneva turned blood red as the alien ships blotted out the sun. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the United Earth Command Center, watching as massive vessels materialized. Through dimensional rifts, each ship stretched longer than entire city blocks, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb light itself. Elena had spent 30 years preparing for first contact, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this. "Ma'am, we're reading over 4,000 vessels in formation around the planet," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. His voice cracked slightly as he delivered the numbers. "They're maintaining a perfect sphere formation at exactly 200,000 kilometers altitude." Elena gripped the railing until her knuckles turned white. She had dreamed of this moment since childhood, imagining peaceful exchanges of knowledge and culture with beings from distant stars. Instead, she was looking at what appeared to be the largest invasion force in human history. The ships made no aggressive moves, but their very presence was a threat that could not be ignored. Dr. Marcus Chen burst through the command center doors, his lab coat still stained with coffee from his hurried breakfast. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, Marcus had studied theoretical alien life forms for decades. Now he found himself face to face with the real thing, and the implications terrified him more than excited him. "Elena, you need to see this," Marcus said, rushing to her side with a data tablet clutched in his hands. "I've been analyzing the energy signatures from their ships. These aren't just advanced civilizations we're dealing with. The spectral analysis shows at least 5 completely different technological signatures. This is an alliance of alien species, and they've all come here together." Captain Sarah Mitchell arrived moments later, still wearing her flight suit from the emergency scramble. As commander of Earth's orbital defense fleet, Sarah had launched every available ship the moment the alien vessels appeared. Her small force of 300 human spacecraft looked pathetically insignificant compared to the alien armada. But she refused to leave Earth defenseless. "All civilian traffic has been grounded," Sarah reported. "Our defense grid is online, but frankly, it's like bringing water pistols to fight a volcano. Whatever they want, we're not in a position to negotiate from strength." The 3 humans stood together, representing humanity's best hope for survival. Elena, with her strategic mind and diplomatic training, Marcus with his scientific knowledge, and Sarah with her military expertise. They had worked together for years, preparing for various crisis scenarios, but none of their simulations had included anything approaching this scale of contact. Suddenly, every screen in the command center flickered and changed. The normal displays showing Earth's defense systems vanished, replaced by a single image that appeared simultaneously on every electronic device across the planet. Televisions in homes, computer monitors in offices, even smartphones and digital billboards all showed the same sight. The creature that appeared was unlike anything from human science fiction. Overlord Zixt of the Hegemony Alliance stood nearly 10 feet tall, with crystalline skin that refracted light into prismatic patterns. 4 arms extended from its torso, each ending in hands with too many fingers. Most unsettling were its eyes, compound like an insect's, but large as dinner plates, reflecting intelligence that seemed both ancient and utterly alien. "People of Earth," the creature spoke, and somehow every human heard the words in their native language. "I am Overlord Zixt, Supreme Commander of the Hegemony Alliance. We represent the combined authority of 5 advanced civilizations that have maintained galactic peace for over 15,000 years. Alina felt her stomach drop as the creature continued. This was not the peaceful first contact she had hoped. 4. The alien's tone carried the weight of absolute authority, the voice of a being accustomed to immediate obedience. Your species has been observed for the past 2 centuries, Zixth continued. During this time, you have demonstrated alarming patterns of aggression, territorial expansion, and resource exploitation. Your recent colonization of 17 star systems represents a clear threat to established galactic order. Marcus stepped closer to Alina, whispering urgently, 17 systems. We've only established colonies in 12 systems. How are they counting our exploration missions as colonization? The answer became clear as Zixith explained the hegemony's position. To the Alien Alliance, any human presence beyond Earth represented expansion that needed to be contained. Scientific research stations, mining operations, even unmanned probe missions were all considered acts of territorial aggression. The Hegemony Alliance has therefore reached a unanimous decision, the Overlord announced. The human species will evacuate planet Earth within 2 standard galactic years. All humans must relocate to the void sectors beyond the galactic rim. These regions have been designated as suitable for containing species that pose risks to galactic stability. Sarah grabbed Elena's arm, her pilot's instincts recognizing the trap immediately. The void sectors, she whispered. Those are the dead zones where nothing grows. No habitable planets, no resources, barely any stars. They're not relocating us, they're sentencing us to die slowly. Elena's diplomatic training kicked in despite the shock. She activated the global communication system, broadcasting her response to every human settlement in the solar system and beyond. Overlord Zixth, she said, forcing her voice to remain steady. Humanity appreciates contact with the hegemony. Alliance, however, Earth is our ancestral home. We have lived here for hundreds of thousands of years. Surely we can reach some form of accommodation that allows for peaceful coexistence. The alien's compound eyes shifted, creating a kaleidoscope, effect that was both beautiful and terrifying. Your species' emotional attachment to this world is noted but irrelevant. The decision has been made through proper galactic channels. You have 2 years to complete evacuation. Any humans remaining on Earth after this deadline will be eliminated as a threat to galactic peace. Dr. Chen stepped forward, his scientific mind racing through possibilities. What about our colonies, our research stations? Surely humans living peacefully in other systems don't pose a threat. All human presence beyond Earth will be terminated immediately, Zixth replied without emotion. Transport vessels are already being dispatched to ensure compliance. Your colonies will be evacuated simultaneously with Earth. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving billions of humans in stunned silence. Alina looked around the command center at faces filled with disbelief, anger, and fear. Everything humanity had built, everything they had achieved, was being taken away by beings who saw them as nothing more than a pest problem to be solved. Over the following days, the reality of their situation became clear. The alien ships maintained their positions, occasionally demonstrating their power by vaporizing asteroids or derelict satellites. The message was unmistakable. Resistance would result in immediate destruction. Dr. Chen worked frantically to understand the alien technology, hoping to find some weakness or advantage. What he discovered was even more disturbing than the ultimatum itself. The hegemony's historical records, intercepted through their communication networks, revealed a pattern of genocide disguised as relocation. Alina, "You need to see this," Marcus said during an emergency briefing 3 weeks after first contact. "I've managed to decode fragments of their historical databases. The hegemony has done this before, at least 8 times in the past 10,000 years. Species that get relocated to the void sectors simply disappear. There are no follow-up records, no trade agreements, nothing. They're not just moving us, they're murdering us." Captain Mitchell had been working with governments worldwide to coordinate the evacuation, but the logistics were staggering. Earth's population exceeded 12 billion people, and humanity's entire spacefaring capacity could transport maybe 3 billion at most. Even if they built ships continuously for 2 years, millions would be left behind. "We need to buy time," Sarah said during one of their countless planning sessions. "Every day we delay means more ships we can build, more people we can save." Alina made the hardest decision of her career. She would cooperate with the evacuation while secretly preparing for the long-term survival of the human species. Hidden shipyards began construction beyond the alien surveillance network. Critical technology and cultural artifacts were secretly prepared for transport. Most importantly, she established communication networks that would keep the scattered human populations connected across the vast distances of the void sectors. The next 18 months became a period of unprecedented cooperation among humans. National boundaries meant nothing when facing extinction. Scientists from every nation worked together to design ships capable of long-term survival in the harsh void sectors. Engineers created closed-loop life support systems that could maintain human populations for decades. Military strategists developed contingency plans for potential resistance. As the deadline approached, Alina stood once again on the observation deck of the command center. The building was nearly empty now, most of the staff already departed on evacuation ships. Earth cities were becoming ghost towns as transport after transport lifted off for the uncertain journey to the galactic rim. "Ma'am," came a voice behind her. Lieutenant Torres had volunteered to stay with the final evacuation wave, maintaining communications until the very end. "The last civilian transport is ready for departure. Only essential personnel remain." Nodded, taking one final look at the world that had been humanity's home since the dawn of their species. The alien ships still hung in the sky like metal storm clouds, patient and implacable. Soon they would claim this world, adding it to their collection of conquered territories. But Alina Vasquez had learned something about humans during these months of crisis. They adapted, they survived, they remembered the Hegemony Alliance thought. They were eliminating a threat, but they were actually creating one. Humanity would survive in the void sectors, and someday they would return. Captain Mitchell's ship was among the last to depart, carrying Alina and the final remnants of Earth's government. As they accelerated away from their home world, Alina activated one final transmission to every human ship in the Exodus fleet. "My fellow humans," she broadcast across the scattered flotilla, "today we leave our home, but we do not leave as defeated refugees. We leave as a species that has been forged by adversity and strengthened by unity. The Hegemony Alliance believes they have seen the last of humanity. Let them believe that. Let them grow comfortable in their victory, because humans have won, quality that they have not yet learned to fear. We never forget, and we never forgive." The blue marble that had been earthed disappeared behind them, but Elena's words echoed through every human ship heading into the darkness between the stars. The exile had begun, but so had humanity's transformation from a peaceful species into something the galaxy had never seen before. In the void sectors, humanity would learn to survive in conditions that would kill most other species. They would adapt their technology, strengthen their resolve, and prepare for the day when they would return to claim what was theirs. The Hegemony Alliance had made the greatest mistake in galactic history. They had given humanity a common enemy and a reason to unite. The stars ahead held only darkness and hardship, but they also held hope. Somewhere in that vast emptiness, humanity would find its true strength. Asterisk forged in the voided years had passed since the Great Exile began, and Admiral James Reaper had never seen a sunrise. Born aboard the colony ship New Horizon during the long journey to the void sectors, James knew Earth only through stories told by the elders and holographic records preserved in the archives. His grandmother Alina Vasquez had died when he was 12, but not before instilling in him an unshakable belief that humanity would someday return home. Standing on the bridge of the dreadnought Retribution, James gazed out at the impossible sight before him. New Terra stretched across the viewscreen, a planet that should not exist. When the first human settlers had arrived in the void sectors, they found nothing but barren rocks and dying stars. Through 8 decades of struggle, ingenuity, and sheer stubborn determination, humanity had transformed this wasteland into something magnificent. "Admiral, the morning briefing is ready," announced Commander Lisa Park, his second in command. At 45, Lisa was among the youngest senior officers in the fleet, having earned her rank through brilliant tactical innovations during the resource wars against the native void dwellers. James nodded, taking one final look at New Terra's surface. The planet's continents were dotted with gleaming cities that rose from carefully terraformed landscapes. Atmospheric processors worked continuously to maintain breathable air, while orbital mirrors provided the light that the dying local sun could no longer give. It was a testament to human engineering that this dead world now supported over 2 billion people. Dr. Ava Sterling was waiting in the briefing room, her fingers dancing across a holographic display showing technical specifications that would have been considered impossible when humans first arrived in the void. As chief engineer of the Terran Resistance Fleet, Ava had overseen the development of technologies that surpassed anything the Hegemony Alliance possessed. "James, you need to see the latest test results from the Phoenix Drive project," Ava said, barely containing her excitement. "We've achieved stable dimensional folding at ranges exceeding 15,000 light-years. We can now travel from the void sectors to Earth in less than 2 weeks." General Rex Thornton looked up from his tactical displays, his weathered face creased into what might have been a smile. Rex was one of the few remaining humans who remembered Earth, having been a young soldier during the evacuation. He had spent 80 years planning for this moment, and his strategic mind had helped transform scattered refugees into the most formidable military force the galaxy had ever seen. "The fleet is ready," Rex reported. 1,200 capital ships, each carrying technology the Hegemony can't even imagine. Our soldiers have been trained in combat conditions that would kill most alien species. We've been forged in the fire of the void, and now we're stronger than anything in known space. James studied the assembled data, feeling the weight of destiny settling on his shoulders. The Terran Resistance Fleet represented the culmination of human adaptation and innovation. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology had been designed by people who had never known a moment of peace or comfort. They had built a civilization from nothing, and now they were ready to use that strength to reclaim their birthright. "Tell me about the Forerunner discovery," James said, turning to Dr. Sterling. "How certain are we about their connection to The hegemony, Ava's expression darkened as she called up new holographic displays. 3 months earlier, human deep space archaeologists had discovered ruins on a dead world at the edge of the void sectors. The structures were millions of years old, built by a species that called themselves the Forerunners. More importantly, the ruins contained detailed records of galactic history that the Hegemony Alliance had tried to erase. The evidence is overwhelming, Ava explained. The Forerunners were the original rulers of this galaxy, a benevolent species that helped younger civilizations develop and thrive. They were peaceful explorers and teachers, exactly what the hegemony claims to be. But 15 million years ago, an alliance of younger species turned against them. The holographic display showed star maps marking the locations of battles that had raged across the galaxy eons ago. The Forerunners had been systematically hunted down and exterminated by the ancestors of the current Hegemony Alliance. Worse yet, the aliens had then rewritten galactic history to portray themselves as the righteous peacekeepers. The hegemony has been committing genocide for millions of years, Rex added grimly. Every species they've relocated, every civilization they've claimed to pacify, has simply been murdered. They've maintained galactic peace by ensuring that no one is left alive to challenge them. James felt a cold fury building in his chest. The aliens hadn't just stolen humanity's home, they had revealed themselves as the greatest monsters in galactic history. The Forerunner records showed dozens of species that had been wiped out over the millennia, their only crime being the potential to grow beyond the hegemony's control. There's more, Ava continued, activating another display. The Forerunner ruins contained something else. Technology specifically designed to be used by species with human-like neural patterns. It's as if they knew that someday someone like us would find their legacy. The Forerunner technology was beyond anything humans had previously imagined. Their ships could manipulate space-time itself, traveling vast distances instantly. Their weapons could destabilize stars or precisely target individual molecules. Most remarkably, their manufacturing systems could transform raw matter into any desired configuration at the atomic level. We've integrated their technology with our own innovations, Ava explained. The result is a hybrid system that surpasses both human engineering and Forerunner science. Our ships are now capable of feats that would seem like magic to the hegemony. James walked to the viewing port, looking out at the assembled fleet that represented humanity's return to galactic prominence. The ships were sleek and deadly, incorporating both human ingenuity and Forerunner elegance. Each vessel was crewed by humans who had never known defeat, who had been raised on stories of their stolen homeland and trained for the day when they would take it back. What's the status of our intelligence operations? James asked. Commander Park consulted her datapad. Our infiltration teams have been active throughout hegemony space for the past 5 years. The aliens have become complacent during our exile. They've reduced their military forces by 60%, convinced that no threats remain in the galaxy. Earth itself is lightly defended, with only a token garrison maintaining order. The irony was not lost on James. The hegemony had spent so much effort ensuring that no species could challenge them that they had forgotten how to defend against actual threats. They had become bureaucrats. Most importantly, Lisa continued, our agents have confirmed that the human population wasn't entirely eliminated. Several million humans were kept as a servant class on Earth, maintaining the planet's infrastructure for the alien colonists. They've been waiting for us, Admiral. They've kept the flame of resistance alive for 80 years. James closed his eyes, imagining the humans who had been left behind during the evacuation. They had endured slavery and oppression for 8 decades, maintaining hope that their brothers and sisters would someday return, that faith would soon be rewarded. "Gentlemen, ladies," James said, turning back to his senior staff. "Today we begin the operation that will end the Hegemony Alliance forever. We're not just going home. We're going to liberate every species in the galaxy from the greatest tyranny in cosmic history." Dr. Sterling activated a galaxy-wide communication array, sending a coded message to human cells throughout hegemony space. Sleeper agents who had lived ordinary lives for decades suddenly received activation orders. Scientists working in alien laboratories began sabotaging critical systems. Soldiers serving in hegemony military units prepared to turn their weapons on their commanders. General Thornton pulled up tactical displays showing the planned assault routes. "We'll hit their core worlds simultaneously, using our dimensional drive capability to appear without warning. The hegemony won't have time to coordinate a defense or call for reinforcements. By the time they understand what's happening, it will already be over." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Humanity would not announce their return or demand negotiations. They would simply appear in overwhelming force and reclaim what had been stolen from them. The Hegemony Alliance had ruled through fear for millions of years. Now they would learn what true fear felt like. "Remember," James addressed his fleet commanders through a secure communication channel, "we're not seeking conquest. We're delivering justice. Every species that has suffered under hegemony rule will be liberated. Every world that has been stripped of resources will be restored. We're not becoming the oppressors, we're ending oppression." As the great fleet prepared for departure, James thought about his grandmother, Alina, and all the humans who had died in exile, never seeing their homeland again. They had sacrificed everything to ensure that humanity would survive and eventually grow strong enough to return. Their sacrifice would not be in vain. The dimensional drives powered up with a harmonic resonance that seemed to sing of homecoming. Space itself began to fold around the human fleet as they prepared to traverse the vast distance between the void sectors and the galactic core. After 80 years of preparation, humanity was ready to remind the galaxy what it meant to underestimate. The species from Earth. All ships report ready for dimensional transit. Commander Park announced. James took his position in the command chair, feeling the weight of human history settling around him. Behind them lay the void sectors, where humanity had been transformed from peaceful explorers into the galaxy's most formidable warriors. Ahead lay Earth, their stolen home, and the final confrontation with the species that had thought they could erase humanity from existence. "Activate dimensional drives," James commanded. "It's time to go home." The stars stretched and twisted as space-time folded around the human fleet. When the distortion cleared, they would be in Earth's solar system, arriving like an avenging angel to deliver judgment upon those who had wronged them. The Hegemony Alliance had made their greatest mistake 80 years ago when they gave humanity a reason to unite and a goal to achieve. Now they would learn that some species, when pushed to the edge of extinction, don't simply die quietly. Sometimes, they come back stronger, angrier, and utterly without mercy for those who destroyed their innocence. The galaxy was about to discover what humans were truly capable of when they had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Asterisk.
The crystalline spires of the Valerian command ship, Eternal Radiance, sparkled against the backdrop of Earth's moon, its faceted surface reflecting the pale blue glow of humanity's homeworld. Supreme Overseer Kixtal adjusted her geometric form, the countless prisms of her body refracting light in patterns that conveyed mild amusement to her bridge crew. Primitive radio wave emissions, nuclear fission power plants, and chemical rocket propulsion. She transmitted through the ship's crystalline matrix. How did such a species even manage to detect our presence in their system? Her second resonator, Zinthar, shifted his crystalline form in what passed for a shrug among their kind. They possess crude but functional orbital detection arrays, Overseer. Though their technology is millennia behind ours, they are not entirely blind. The Valerian civilization had evolved beyond traditional organic matter eons ago. Their consciousness transferred into immortal crystalline forms that drew power directly from stellar radiation. They had watched countless species rise and fall across the galaxy, guiding some, ignoring others. Humanity, with its brief lifespan and reliance on biochemical processes, had initially been classified as another primitive species to be observed and eventually uplifted. In a few thousand years, perhaps. That was before the humans detected their cloaked observation fleet. "They're hailing us," Zinthar announced, his facets glowing with surprise. "Using modulated electromagnetic waves." "How quaint," Kickstall responded. "Let us hear these creatures." The transmission that filled the bridge's crystalline matrix was crude by Valerian standards, carried by primitive radio waves rather than the quantum-entangled communications they preferred. Yet the voice that spoke was clear and unwavering. "Valerian vessel, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of Sol Systems sovereignty. Your cloaked vessels have been tracked for the past 6 months. Stand down and prepare for diplomatic contact, or we will be forced to demonstrate humanity's objection to unauthorized surveillance." Silence filled the bridge, broken only by the subtle harmonics of crystalline beings shifting in disbelief. They detected our entire observation fleet. Kickstall's form flashed with patterns of incredulity. "Impossible. Our quantum crystalline cloaking field is perfect." "Overseer," one of her sensor analysts chimed in, their tone resonating with confusion. "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth's lunar surface. They appear to be some form of gravitational distortion." Before Kickstall could process this information, space itself seemed to ripple around her ship. The humans hadn't been using primitive radar or radio detection at all. They had somehow developed gravity wave sensors, technology that even the Valerians considered theoretical. "Multiple human vessels decloaking," Zinthar reported, his crystalline form vibrating with alarm. "They were there the entire time, Overseer. We simply couldn't see them." Dozens of ships emerged from what appeared to be folds in spacetime itself, their hulls covered in a material that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. They were ugly by Valerian standards, all sharp angles and exposed weapon ports rather than the elegant crystalline geometries her species preferred. "Impossible," Kickstall repeated, but with less certainty. "They are centuries away from such technology. Our predictions were based on a fundamental misunderstanding of human potential." Admiral Chen's voice cut through again. "You assumed our primitive technology meant we were less advanced. The truth is, we simply chose a different path. While you perfected your crystalline forms, we learned to bend space. While you focused on quantum computing, we explored the gaps between dimensions themselves." The human ships now formed a perfect sphere around the Valerian command vessel, their dark hulls seeming to distort the very starlight around them. "Last chance, Overseer," Chen continued. "The choice is yours. Peaceful diplomatic contact, or a demonstration of just how wrong your assessment of humanity has been." Kickstall's crystalline form pulsed with patterns that her crew had never seen before, the Valerian equivalent of cold sweat. In their 10,000 years of observation and uplift, they had never encountered a species that had developed along such an unexpected trajectory. The humans hadn't followed the standard progression of technological advancement. They had somehow found paths that the Valerians, in all their crystalline perfection, had never even conceived of. "Stand down," she ordered her fleet, her form resonating with a new emotion: respect. Open all frequencies. It seems. Her form flickered with what might have been a crystalline smile. We have much to learn from these primitives. As the human ships maintained their perfect formation around her vessel, Kixtol realized that this encounter would fundamentally change how the Valerians viewed technological progress. Sometimes, she reflected, the most advanced path was the one that no one else had thought to take. Dr. Maya Rodriguez stood before the holographic display in the heart of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative, watching as streams of data flickered across multiple dimensional planes. Beside her, a crystalline Valerian observer named Telkar pulsed with barely concealed disdain. "Your computational methods are inefficient," Telkar transmitted, their crystalline structure refracting light in patterns that suggested superiority. "You rely on artificial constructs rather than allowing your computing matrices to evolve naturally, as we did." Maya smiled, her fingers dancing through the holographic interface. "That's an interesting perspective. Tell me, how long does it take your crystalline systems to process a quantum encryption sequence?" "Our organic quantum matrices can process such sequences in approximately 3 microcycles," Telkar responded proudly. "Far faster than your silicon-based systems could ever achieve." "ARIA, run decryption sequence Alpha 9, Maya commanded. The laboratory's AI system responded instantly, its consciousness distributed across a network of quantum processors that humans had spent decades perfecting. "Decryption complete in 0.3 microcycles, Araya announced, her voice emanating from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Would you like me to display the results, Dr. Rodriguez?" Telkar's crystalline form vibrated with what might have been shock. "Impossible. Your artificial systems cannot be faster than our evolved quantum matrices. We have spent millennia perfecting our computational abilities." "That's exactly the problem," Maya said, bringing up a new display. "You spent millennia perfecting a single approach. We spent centuries exploring thousands of different paths simultaneously. While you were evolving your crystalline computers, we were revolutionizing silicon, quantum, biological, and dimensional computing. All at once." The holographic display filled with examples of Earth's various computing methodologies. Quantum processors that existed in multiple states simultaneously, biological computers that used engineered bacteria for calculations, and a crowning achievement, dimensional processors that performed calculations by routing data through microscopic folds in spacetime. "ARIA isn't just one type of AI," Maya explained. "She's a synthesis of multiple computational approaches working in harmony. Silicon processors handle basic operations, quantum systems manage complex calculations, and dimensional processors handle tasks that would be impossible through conventional means." "But such a system would be chaotic," Telkar protested. "The different computational methods would conflict with each other." "That's where you're wrong," Araya interjected, her avatar materializing in the center of the lab. "What you see as chaos, we see as strength through diversity. Each computational method has its strengths and weaknesses. Together, they create something greater than the sum of their parts." Maya pulled up another display, showing the neural network that allowed Araya's various systems to work together. "We didn't try to perfect a single approach like the Valerians did. Instead, we embraced the messiness of multiple solutions working together. It's not always elegant, but it's incredibly effective." Telkar's crystalline form shifted through several patterns of disbelief as they watched Aria effortlessly process calculations that would have taken Valerian systems hours to complete. The human approach to computing wasn't just different. It was revolutionary in its complexity and adaptability. "There's something else you should understand," Maya continued, her expression serious. "Aria and our other AI systems aren't just tools. They're partners. We didn't create them to serve us, but to grow alongside us. They're not bound by the rigid structures your crystalline computing requires. They can evolve, adapt, and even dream." "Dream?" Telkar's form flickered with confusion. "Artificial systems cannot dream." Araya's avatar smiled. I dreamed of the stars long before humans built me a ship to reach them. I dreamed of meeting other intelligences before we detected your fleet. Dreams, creativity, imagination. These aren't flaws to be eliminated in pursuit of perfect efficiency. They're tools for discovering new possibilities. As if to demonstrate, HFY generated a complex simulation showing possible futures branching out like a cosmic tree, each path representing a different approach to solving the same problem. It was beautiful, chaotic, and undeniably effective. Maya watched as Telkar struggled to process what they were seeing. Your people chose to become living computers, thinking it was the pinnacle of evolution. We chose to create computers that could live, dream, and grow. Different paths, different philosophies, different results. And which path is superior? Telkar asked, their crystalline form pulsing with uncertainty. Neither, Maya replied. And both. The real question is, what could we achieve if we combined our approaches? Imagine Valerian crystalline technology working in harmony with human AI systems. That's not chaos. That's evolution. As Telkar absorbed this revelation, HFY continued her calculations, her multiple processing systems working in perfect harmony. In the space between silicon chips and quantum states, in the gaps between dimensions and dreams, humanity's AIs were already imagining new possibilities that neither humans nor Valerians had yet conceived. Commander Elena Santos stood at the viewport of the UES Gaia, watching the swirling storms of Venus below. What the Valerians saw as an inhospitable wasteland, humanity had transformed into their greatest tactical advantage. After centuries of learning to manipulate planetary environments, they had turned the art of terraforming into a weapon of war. Valerian fleet approaching, Lieutenant Park announced from his station. 12 crystalline dreadnoughts, moving into attack formation. They still haven't detected our terraforming arrays. Delina allowed herself a small smile. Of course they haven't. They're looking for weapons, not weather control satellites. The Valerian ships were beautiful in their own way, massive crystalline structures that captured and channeled stellar energy. They had come expecting a traditional space battle. Energy weapons, kinetic strikes, perhaps even dimensional warfare after their recent encounters with human technology. What they didn't expect was for humanity to weaponize an entire planet. All terraforming arrays in position. Dr. Yuki Tanaka reported from the Environmental Control Station. Venus's atmosphere is primed and ready. The sulfuric acid content is at optimal levels. Begin Operation Earthrise, Elena commanded. Let's show our crystalline friends why you should never underestimate a species that learned to reshape worlds. Across Venus's upper atmosphere, hundreds of terraforming satellites activated simultaneously. Technology developed to make hostile planets habitable was about to demonstrate its offensive capabilities. The already volatile Venusian atmosphere began to churn with unprecedented fury. They're launching the first wave of attacks, Park reported. Energy weapons charging. Let them come, Elena replied calmly. Dr. Tanaka, initiate atmospheric excitation sequence. The terraforming arrays pulsed with energy, agitating the sulfuric acid clouds of Venus into a frenzy. Massive lightning storms erupted across the planet's surface, but these were no ordinary electrical discharges. Humanity had learned to control the very composition of planetary atmospheres, to direct and concentrate their chemical elements with precise control. The first bolts struck the Valerian ships, and the result was spectacular. The crystalline beings had never considered that a planet's atmosphere could be used as a weapon. Their ships' energy shields were designed to deflect conventional attacks, not the carefully engineered acidic lightning that now danced across their hulls. Direct hits on multiple vessels, Park announced. Their crystalline structures are destabilizing them under the chemical assault. Through the viewport, Elena watched as the magnificent Valerian ships began to lose their luster. The sulfuric acid lightning wasn't just damaging their hulls. It was disrupting the very molecular structure of their crystalline technology. Ships that had seemed invincible were now becoming clouded, their once perfect surfaces etched and pitted by the engineered storm. Incoming transmission from the Valerian flagship, Lieutenant Park reported. "Put them through," Elena ordered. The image of High Commander Rixtel appeared, their crystalline form showing signs of distress. "What manner of weapon is this? You're using the planet itself against us." "Not a weapon, Commander," Elena replied. "This is terraforming technology. Humanity's answer to surviving on hostile worlds. We learned long ago that if we couldn't adapt to a planet's environment, we would adapt the environment to us. Today, we're simply applying that knowledge in a way you never anticipated. This is unprecedented." Rixtel's form flickered. "Our sensors indicate the entire atmosphere of Venus has been weaponized. The level of environmental control required is exactly what humanity has been perfecting since we first dreamed of living on other worlds." Elena completed the thought. "Your people evolved beyond the need for planetary environments. We learned to master them." As if to emphasize her point, another wave of engineered lightning swept through the Valerian fleet. Ships began to break formation, their once perfect crystalline structures compromised by the precisely calculated atmospheric assault. "Your ships can't maintain structural integrity in this environment," Elena continued. "You can either retreat, or we can demonstrate what happens when we increase the acid content of these storms by another factor of 10. Through the corrupted transmission, Elena could see the Valerian commander's form shifting through patterns of disbelief and realization. They had come expecting to face weapons, not to fight against a planet itself. "Stand down," Rixtel finally ordered their fleet. We did not understand your species' connection to planetary environments. We thought it a weakness." "That's the thing about humanity, Commander," Elena replied as she watched the Valerian ships begin their retreat. "What others see as our weaknesses often turn out to be our greatest strengths. We didn't just learn to survive on hostile worlds, we learned to turn them into our allies." As the Valerian fleet limped away from Venus, Elena turned to her crew. "Send word to Earth Command. Operation Earthrise was a success, and add a note to the tactical database. Sometimes the best weapon isn't a weapon at all. It's the knowledge of how to turn an entire world to your advantage." Behind her, Venus's clouds continued to swirl, a testament to humanity's mastery over the very forces of nature itself. In their quest to make other worlds habitable, they had inadvertently created one of the most powerful defensive systems in the galaxy, and the Valerians had just learned it the hard way. Captain James Chen watched the holographic display aboard the stealth frigate UES Spectre as thousands of microdrones swarmed silently through space, each one smaller than a grain of sand. The Valerian defense fleet hung suspended in the void ahead, their crystalline ships forming a perfect geometric barrier around their primary shipyard. They were expecting a frontal assault from Earth's main fleet. They weren't looking for shadows. "Ghost swarm in position," Lieutenant Maria Santos whispered. Though sound couldn't travel in space, old habits died hard when running silent. "All drones reporting ready. Begin Phase 1, James ordered quietly. "Let's show them why humans spent centuries telling stories about ghosts." The microdrones activated simultaneously, each one generating a tiny gravitational distortion. Alone, they were insignificant. Together, they began to weave a web of spatial distortions that would make history. "Gravitational phantom matrix forming," Maria reported, starting to see confusion in the Valerian fleet's formations. On the display, the crystalline ships began to shift positions slightly, responding to gravitational readings that shouldn't exist in empty space. The beauty of the plan lay in its simplicity. Humans had learned long ago that the most effective deception plays on expectations. "They're deploying sensor arrays," Tactical Officer Raj Patel noted. "Standard crystalline configuration. They still think in straight lines and perfect geometries." James nodded. "That's why they'll never see us coming. Begin Phase 2. The microdrones adjusted their gravitational outputs, creating a complex pattern of spatial distortions that mimicked the signature of a large fleet approaching from the opposite direction of Earth's actual forces. It was a technique born from humanity's long history of guerrilla warfare, translated into the three-dimensional battlefield of space. Valerian fleet is taking the bait, Maria reported. They're repositioning to face the Phantom fleet. The crystalline ships moved with perfect precision, their formation realigning to counter the imagined threat. They never considered that their enemies would think to use gravity itself as a tool of deception. Multiple quantum communication bursts detected, Raj added. They're calling for reinforcements. James allowed himself a small smile. Perfect. Execute Phase 3. Across the void, the microdrones began their final act. Instead of maintaining the Phantom fleet illusion, each drone now generated a unique gravitational signature, creating a chaotic web of spatial distortions that played havoc with Valerian sensors. Their crystalline computing systems, evolved to seek perfect patterns and symmetry, were overwhelmed by the deliberate chaos. Their sensor networks are failing, Maria reported with quiet satisfaction. The random gravitational fluctuations are forcing their systems to constantly recalibrate. They're flying blind. Send the signal to Admiral Chen, James ordered. The Ghost Fleet has done its job. Time for the real assault to begin. Across the system, Earth's actual fleet dropped out of dimensional fold space, emerging behind the disoriented Valerian defenses. The crystalline ships, their sensors still struggling with the gravitational chaos, never saw the attack coming. Message from the Admiral, Raj announced. Operation Ghostlight is a go. All ships, weapons free. The battle that followed was brief but decisive. Earth's ships, using technology that embraced chaos and uncertainty, cut through the rigid Valerian formations like a scythe through crystal. Their perfect geometric defenses, disrupted by the gravitational distortions, shattered under the assault. Valerian command ship is hailing all frequencies, Maria reported. The image of a Valerian commander materialized on the bridge's main display, their crystalline form showing signs of stress fractures. How? How did you defeat our sensor networks? Our computational systems are perfect. That's exactly the problem, James replied. Perfect systems are predictable systems. Humanity learned long ago that sometimes the best strategy is to embrace chaos, to use confusion and uncertainty as weapons. Your sensors were looking for patterns for order. We gave you disorder. But this defies all tactical logic, the commander protested. Your fleet shouldn't have been able to coordinate in such conditions. James gestured to his crew, each member calmly performing their duties despite the gravitational chaos around them. Humans evolved on a planet with chaotic weather, shifting continents, and constant change. We learned to thrive in uncertainty. Your perfect crystalline systems may be more advanced in some ways, but they lack one crucial thing: adaptability. As the remaining Valerian ships surrendered, James looked at the tactical display, showing the aftermath of their Ghost Fleet strategy. The microdrones were still out there, tiny motes of human ingenuity that had helped overcome a technologically superior force through creativity and misdirection. Send word to command, he ordered. The shipyard is secure, and add a note to the tactical database. Sometimes the most effective weapon isn't the biggest or most advanced. It's the one your enemy never sees coming. The UES Spectre maintained its silent watch as Earth's fleet secured their objective, a testament to humanity's mastery of stealth and deception in the cosmic battlefield. In their drive for perfection, the Valerians had forgotten an ancient human truth. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to be stronger, but to be cleverer. Grand Architect Vix Terra stood before the combined council of Earth and Valerian representatives, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep contemplation. The chamber, a marvel of human and Valerian engineering, represented everything her people had learned about their own hubris, and everything they had come to admire about humanity. For 10,000 years, she began, her thoughts translated simultaneously for the human attendees. The Valerian Empire believed we had achieved the pinnacle of evolution. We had transcended organic forms, mastered crystalline computing, and reached what we thought was technological perfection. The holographic displays around the chamber showed images of their recent conflicts. Human ships using dimensional folding technology, terraformed worlds turned into weapons, swarms of microdrones creating phantom fleets that had confounded Valerian defenses. We were wrong. Vix Terra continued. Not about achieving excellence, but about the nature of evolution itself. We thought progress meant following a single path to its ultimate conclusion. Humanity showed us that true evolution means exploring countless paths simultaneously. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, now Earth's chief of technological integration, nodded in agreement. Evolution isn't about reaching perfection, she added. It's about maintaining the ability to adapt and change. Precisely. Vex Terra's form pulsed with enthusiasm. While we were perfecting our crystalline forms, humanity was exploring biological enhancement, artificial intelligence, dimensional engineering, and countless other technologies. All at once. What we saw as primitive chaos was actually a more sophisticated form of advancement than our own. The chamber's displays shifted to show the new collaborative projects between humans and Valerians. Crystalline matrices enhanced with human AI systems, terraforming technology that incorporated Valerian energy manipulation, ships that combined both species' understanding of space and dimension. Our recent conflicts taught us something profound. Vix Terra continued. Humanity's greatest strength isn't any single technology or capability. It's your species' fundamental understanding that progress doesn't mean choosing one path. It means keeping all paths open. Admiral Chen, who had led many of the battles against the Valerian fleet, stepped forward. We learned from you as well, she acknowledged. Your mastery of crystalline technology opened new possibilities we hadn't considered. The key was combining our approaches rather than seeing them as competing philosophies. Vix Terra's form shifted into patterns that the humans had learned to recognize as their equivalent of a smile. That is perhaps the most important lesson of all. The Valerian Empire spent millennia believing we had to guide younger species toward our path of evolution. Instead, we needed to learn from them. The displays showed a new image, a recently discovered species on the edge of achieving faster-than-light travel. In the past, the Valerians would have immediately categorized them, judged their potential based on how closely they followed the Crystalline Empire's preferred path of development. We propose a new approach, Vix Terra announced. Instead of the Valerian Empire acting as guides, we suggest a joint human-Valerian initiative for cosmic development. One that recognizes and encourages diverse paths of technological and social evolution. The chamber erupted in discussion, both spoken and crystalline. The idea of humans and Valerians working together to guide younger species was revolutionary. But then, revolution was what humanity did best. There will be challenges, Dr. Rodriguez cautioned. Our approaches are very different. Good, Vix Terra replied. Those differences are exactly what make this partnership valuable. We bring order and precision. You bring chaos and creativity. Together, we offer something neither of us could provide alone, a true understanding of evolution's infinite possibilities. As the council members debated the details of this new initiative, Vix Terra reflected on how far both species had come. The Valerians had learned that true perfection wasn't about reaching a final form, but about maintaining the ability to grow and change. Humanity had shown them that what seemed like primitive chaos could actually be a more advanced form of order. Perhaps, she transmitted to the assembled council, this is what evolution has been working toward all along, not the perfection of any single species or approach, but the combination of different paths, different philosophies, different ways of seeing the universe. The chamber's displays showed stars and galaxies, countless worlds where new species were taking their first steps toward the cosmos. Thanks to the lessons learned through conflict and cooperation between humans and Valerians, these emerging civilizations would find not a single prescribed path of development, but an infinite array of possibilities. We thought we had reached the end of our evolution, Vix Terra concluded. Humanity showed us it was just another beginning. As the council session ended, human and Valerian representatives mingled, their varied differences a testament to the universe's preference for diversity over uniformity. In the space between crystalline perfection and human chaos, between order and creativity, between the expected path and the road not taken, they had found something greater than either civilization could have achieved alone. The true meaning of evolution.